clearly I loved when we had that conversation across Zoom. And
that was a blast. I really enjoyed myself. It's fun to see you again. Put it that way.
Honest to God, me too. Me too. It was like I've known you for a very long time. I think a lot of the things you said, everything you said was little pearls of wisdom everywhere. And I thought, lots of people should hear this. And Mr. Mike Verret has been there, done it, got the T-shirt, got the stains on it, and probably got the scars as well, I'm guessing.
Oh yeah, I've been through the ringer in my I'd say the past 24 years. I've done everything in marketing, from concepting a brand to starring in the TV commercial based on my life in advertising and marketing, and then moving over to Hasbro Toys and Games for 6 years. It gave me a crash course on what to do and what not to do in marketing. And so when I left Hasbro, my last iteration was face of Hasbro Gaming. My job was to fly around the world and present Hasbro games to, whether it was internal constituents like a brand summit, toy fairs for our buyers who really are our customers, and then the consumer events. That was my job. So when I left Hasbro and started this business, it was based on a simple insight that I understand an audience. And if I can understand how an audience is thinking at any point, I know how to connect with them. So I've turned my business into showing other businesses how to talk about themselves to their audience, because so much of your business is focused on you. It's focused on what's important to you, and everything is important, 100%. But over here, the audience, only about 3% of that matters at that point of connection. I'll use the example of a resume. You and I have both written resumes. You spend a lot of time putting everything that you've accomplished and where you've been and what you've done. But the truth is, the employer is only looking at resumes for an average of 7 to 9 seconds, which means the only thing they see is the sentence at the top. And they will not see anything below that if they don't connect to it. Just as important when you're presenting your business to your audience, your customer, your consumer, if they don't attach to it, they'll go to the next option. They hold all the control. They can just go online and search. Nope, don't like this one, I'll go to the next search result. So you need to grab their attention in the moment. I call it that 7-second story. That's what I help businesses do. I show them their audience's perspective and show them how to talk to their audience in a way that's going to connect with them and get them to say, tell me more.
So when if you look back 24 years, whatever it is, 24 years, quarter of a century, Mike, quarter of a century gone there. Just saying. And you were starting out 24, 25 years ago into the marketplace. What is it you did? And I say that we're all we don't have wisdom. We're not born with wisdom. We're the conduits of other people's wisdom, right? We harvest stuff if we've got open minds and we're willing to listen. There's some great stuff that will come at us all day, every day, from everybody around us. So what was that bit where you started 24, 25 years ago?
It was working as an account executive at an ad agency, and just trafficking and all the things that go into agency work, all the sort of pedestrian executional stuff. That's where I started. And I was everybody looks at agencies as being the account service and creative, right? Or account service and design or whatever. My unique skill that I figured out was I could bridge that gap. I could talk to the creatives and in a way that they're going to understand and respond to, and communicate out to the client in a way that the client was really engaged with us. So throughout my career, it was kind of walking that strategic balance of I could talk to our customer or our client, our team, and the design team in the right language. So I became a conduit for the entire process. And that's sort of what I staked my claim to in the advertising world was, if I can bridge the gap between client service and design, or creative, that's going to be a valuable asset to a company. So my last iteration of that was on-site account director for Hasbro's ad agency, Hasbro Toys and Games. And all I focused on was boys' toys. So I got to work on Star Wars and Marvel and Transformers and all these brands that we grew up with. It was phenomenal. The dirty secret is, in any manufacturing or CPG organization, it's all done by a process. So it doesn't matter if you're making dreams come true with Iron Man or you're making trash bin liners for a trash receptacle, it's the same thing. It takes all the fun out of it. However, that was my experience anyway.
There's an awful lot of very large kids like me out there who be going, ooh, he did that. He went all over the world with Hasbro toys. He went and he played with toys, for crying out loud.
Oh, it sounds great from the outside, right? No, it was a fantastic experience, but the key word is experience. That's kind of what you're asking. Because the reason I was able to get into the brand marketing organization at Hasbro was not only my ability to work with the clients, but I was every day, I was in meetings that no ad agency would be in, like phase reviews every week for product design, and seeing the insights of where they start was so counterintuitive to what I was thinking from the ad side, but I absorbed it all. I became a sponge. And that's what allowed me to see and learn so much about the marketing world and touch so many points of it. Like I said, from brand concept all the way to writing and being in the commercial, I've been able to do all of that. So when I started out, it was client service and getting the job done. Where I ended up in my advertising and marketing, services career was a strategic guide for what they were doing in their campaign design, not the execution, but the design, who we're talking to and how we're reaching them. So basically helping them write the brief that our agency would then use, which is a great place to be in. So I got to understand the business inside and out, and that's how I ended up at Hasbro Toys and Games on the brand side.
And of course, that ability to be able to, because there's always been the tension in the advertising world and the agencies world. There's always been the tension between the person who takes the brief, how they deliver the brief to the person who's going to execute the thing, whether it's advertising, airspace, audio, visual, whatever it's going to be, magazine advertising. There's always been that tension of who broke the message, who didn't get it from here to here so that it was executed correctly, or when it comes back from here to the client goes, no, that's not really what I said. So right. and that bit in the middle, it's we should explain though, because you did throw in the word trafficking. And I just want the rest of the world to know that the trafficking we're talking about is not the trafficking they might have in their dictionary at the same time, right? So we're talking about
it has nothing to do with roundabouts and motorways.
Nothing to do with roads whatsoever. No form of traffic. Nobody was hurt during the trafficking we're talking about. But of course, I call it traffic control. You might call it something else where you come from. But that traffic control is an absolutely vital element of the whole marketing mix, because everything can be misinterpreted or can get lost along the way. Do you remember a story at all when something went at right angles because the message got wrong? You will not have been part of that reason why it went at right angles, but do you have those stories?
I have a somewhat off color one that you'll get a kick out of. Okay, bear with me here. When I was first starting at Hasbro, and you can look this up. Okay, after this, you can look this up. When I was just starting at Hasbro with their ad agency, so this was 2006. The Super Soaker team, so those big squirt guns that you pump and shoot, it's like Nerf and Super Soaker was the brand team. They created this alien version of a squirt gun that shot this green ooze. Okay, and it looked like alien ooze and stuff. The thing was kind of shaped weird and everything. Somewhere along the line, someone, I'm assuming QA or somewhere in the mechanisms, I don't know where, I just gotten there, said we can't use coloring. It's got to be white. So now they made this commercial with these kids shooting each other with this white oozy fluid. And when they're getting hit, they're going, ew. And it turned into an absolute PR nightmare. It was called the Oozinator. That was the name of the product. OOZINATOR. Perfect example of losing control of a narrative. But I'll give you another one
and that is one of those stories that it gets indelibly stamped on the mind, doesn't it? It's you can't. We did.
When you look it up, you're going to see the audience interpretation of what a brand thought was a good idea. Like they had it going. It was really, they tested it, everything. The interpretation from the audience was the issue. It has nothing to do with the product and everything to do with how the audience interprets it.
Yeah, and
that TV commercial was not a good look. When you watch it, you'll understand. But here's another one for you. And this one, actually, I get a delight in telling because it's personal to me. I worked on the Jurassic World line for the release of the movie with Chris Pratt, and 21 years after the park opened, all this cool stuff. We're making the dinosaurs for it, and we're working with Universal Studios on it. They tell us, okay, we came up with the name for the bad dinosaur. And you've seen the movie?
Yeah, love it.
Okay, Indominus Rex.
Yep.
His name was Diabolus Rex when they first wrote it. So we get a call from the PR department at Hasbro saying, you got to look up Diabolus Rex. Now this is, I'll have you do this too. If you search Diabolus Rex, Diabolus, King of the Devils or whatever, King of the Demons, that's what it translates to in Latin. Right now, you'll see sketches of the dinosaur, and then you'll come across images of this guy with horn implants and black contacts and a big long beard. The outgoing president of the Church of Satan was named Diabolus Rex. And he was the only result when you searched it before all of this went on, before it got out that that was the original name. So we bring this to their attention, saying we're selling toys to 5-year-olds. We can't have mom search Diabolus Rex and this guy comes up. What do? They say, instead of saying, we'll go back to script, we'll go back to the writers, we'll rename the dinosaur. They said, okay, you guys figure it out. So here I am with my friend Mike, who's a copywriter. We lock ourselves for half an hour in a conference room, put the word Rex on a whiteboard and open up a Latin dictionary and start putting names next to Rex. And I said, Indominus is it, because it means unconquerable, and we'll sell it to Universal as Iron, because he gets conquered in the end. I hope I'm not ruining the movie, but that was the whole idea of it. And they go, okay, that was it. Okay, so they changed the name of the dinosaur to Indominus Rex, the name that I chose. So if you search Diabolus Rex, you'll see the dinosaurs and that guy.
Mike Verret,
the first end.
Mike Verret named probably the most famous dinosaur out of the franchise.
Well, T-Rex is obviously the most famous.
Okay,
look, think of it this way. All the other dinosaurs already had names.
Yes, exactly.
My name's the only one that didn't.
Unique. It's a unique claim to marketing fame right there.
Here's a fun Easter egg. If you go back and watch the movie, when they show the radar scene of they're tracking Indominus Rex, all of the animals, when they're tracking them, have a 2-letter and 3-number designation. The 2 letters an abbreviation of their name. Indominus still says DR. They never changed the I. So that's my other proof point that it happened.
I'm going to watch that movie again. I'm going to think of you, and I'm going to look out for that moment when
you'll those see letters it. Come now it's going to be. Now it's, you know how you see a cool car and then you see that car all the time. That's what's going to happen. You're going to say, "Oh my God, it's a D. Oh my goodness, he's absolutely right." No, but it was just this. I'm a senior brand manager working on the product line, and the studio tells us to figure it out. So I'm in a situation where I have to name a dinosaur for Jurassic World.
So dinosaurs aside, Verret Associates now is doing what, Mike? What's the daily grist of things?
I show businesses how to talk about themselves. So it's very, very difficult for them to do because everything's important. Like that example I gave you, how important it is for the audience to take away the right message about your business. So I work with businesses to show them their audience's perspective and help them to understand and see. It's almost like an out-of-body experience. See from an outside point of view what your message is doing with the audience, how they're picking it up, how your customers are receiving what you're saying. The most important contact point. And if it's inefficient or if they're passing you over, that's what we fix. So my philosophy is simple. You got to be first, best, or different. And in almost every instance, maybe 1% is first or best. But everybody can do different. And if you do different, that's what people register with. Like I said with the resume example, they cling to what's different. So I take clients, the most basic thing that I do. First of all I sell is free 30-minute phone calls. Just because I love meeting new people and talking to them about their business. And if I could give them advice or something that helps in that call, it's great. But what I do with my clients is take them through my version of the elevator pitch or the lift pitch or the short 10-second what do you do that you would say to somebody if you ran into them at, say, a cocktail party or a dinner party or something. I've turned that around to be 10 seconds is not enough time to explain what you do with meaning. People attach meaning to that 10-second statement. For instance, if I use the term marketing consultant in that 10 seconds, you've assigned meaning to me. You've established what you think I do. The key, though, is how long they will stay to listen to your story. And I use the example of a lift because it's multiple floors. But that first floor, before they even push a button on that lift, your job is to build intrigue, not to tell them what you do, because you want them engaged to find out about who you help and what your solution is and how you do it and how to get in touch. It builds a story. So when I talk to someone, I have a friend who's been in PR for 33 years. And since day one, she's told people, not that she's in PR, say, what do you do? Michelle, what do you do? She says, I make news. And you can't assign meaning to that yet. You don't know if she's in PR, if she's a reporter, maybe she's an unruly celebrity who ends up in the gossip column. I don't know yet. What do you mean make news? And it forces them to get more information. And that's the trick with your message, is you engage them and want them to say, tell me more. That's how you stop people from going to the next result. That's how you stop people from scrolling through results. You want to stop that scrolling. You want to get them to choose and run with you. So going through that elevator pitch, the result is a story, your full message, strategic, where it should go to, that you could hand to your PR agency or your marketing firm or your website developer. Or if you run into somebody at a party or on the lift, you say the same thing every time. Because by having that strategic message, you see how everything to execute and deliver that message, those are vessels for delivery. Those don't have to be, you don't need a social media strategy. That's a tactic. So helping businesses understand that and taking them through that exercise really opens them up to what their audience or their customers seeing and how to better connect with them.
And because the elevator pitch is a fantastic way to describe it as well. I used to work with a Swedish guy, Anders Irving, and he used to tell a story of, you know, the way when you get into the elevator, you're just looking for the buttons they press, and you can calculate how many seconds you've got in order to know how to engage with somebody. If you've got them for one floor, you better be, you know, have a different few words that come out of your head.
Yeah.
And the other thing,
imagine this, Rick, if you could influence what button they push with the first thing out of your mouth.
Nice.
What if they pick the penthouse?
Nice.
You know, so that's the idea, is to intrigue them so they pick that higher floor on the lift or the elevator. You want them to ride along with your story. You want the story to escalate in the way they need to hear it and engage with it. But that's no different if they see it on a Google search, and it's no different if they see it on a billboard on the motorway. Doesn't matter. It should always be that message, because that's what they're going to remember you for. So if you were to go on my LinkedIn page and read any of my content, the only thing I focus on is how your audience perceives your message and how to talk about yourself. You'll never hear me talk about anything outside of that about my business, because that's the entry level. That's the first floor. Then I can explain how I do it, who I help, how I do it, what's my process, or, you know, my solution, my process, the call to action, basically a 5-floor lift for you at that point. And that would be the messaging that lands anywhere. You would see the exact same story if you read my website as you're hearing right now. Same thing. And it's in all of my presentation materials. It's in all of my, this is what I do for a living sort of pitches. But I become recognized for the person who shows businesses how to talk about themselves. That's exactly what we need to do to attach to our customer and our audience, is have that level of meaning to them. And by creating that intrigue, by creating that narrative in levels, it actually almost recreates how people read FAQ pages. So this is an interesting exercise. FAQ pages are meant to be a funnel of information that starts with the most general thing. So what is it? And it goes all the way down to how does it work and who do I call if it doesn't. But what a good FAQ page is leading you through that information in the order that an audience would expect to think about it, or is going to think about it. Not just here's every question that you have, because then they have to go through it.
Yeah.
So the idea is to lead them to the right place with your message. It's unambiguous, they connect to it, and then they understand your services. Then they understand your case studies. They understand everything with more context if you are able to connect with them.
How many websites have you and I visited where we've looked at the FAQs and somebody thought it was a good idea to put them in alphabetical order?
Oh my goodness, I can't think of. So this is a great example. A consumer is looking for a service. All right. Let's say they're looking for a website design. There's a place that is maybe a kilometer away from my house, very close, called PMC Media. And it's their name on the side of the building and then individual signs like down the shingles. 14 services are listed below their name. So at this point, they are a food menu of options. I don't know what to look for. I see web design in there, but how does that tell me that they're good at it? PMC Media does all these things. PMC Media did not connect at all with the customer in their time of need. You need to get your business word out. Here are the ways that we could do it. Your website, for instance, you start with, we make you look good. Then if I scroll down and look at your services, there's a lot of services, but at least I know they're going to make me look good. It's as simple as grabbing them with that initial handshake, because then they'll see everything else in the right context. If you answer a really detailed question first in your FAQs, they have no idea what the answer is because that information should have been down here. And the information down here is what should have been at the top. So the most common thing I see when I'm working with clients, website is a great example. Their most important thing that they should be saying is usually buried 3 levels down. They don't even realize it. They're talking in the way they think they want the audience to hear it, but what the audience needs to hear is 4 paragraphs down or 3 sections away.
Yeah, and they can't find it.
Exactly. So how do you bring that to the top, get their attention, and bring them through, here's what we do, our services, here's how we help people. That's the language of the consumer. That's the language of the audience and the order of information that they need to hear it. But so if you hit them with the right information in the right order, you don't lose their attention and you're differentiated like that.
And that's that kind of, you've just encapsulated there. If you go back to that cocktail party or that elevator moment when you get in there, too many people in business want to, I think you would say in the States, fire hose people with words, right? So I'm going to tell you everything because I've only got 60 seconds to do it. So I'm going to tell you everything. And here it is. And I'm speaking so fast that nobody can keep up with me anyway. And of course,
I got to fit it all in.
No, yeah.
I got to fit it all in. That's what people think of. I work with clients I worked with a plumbing supply warehouse, like a wholesaler that sells to plumbers. And they had a 26-page deck that they would present to the same people every month. 26 pages. When I was done with them, it was 6, and it was a business card they handed out, stacks of them, and it took 5 minutes to tell them how to make more money. You sell more of this by handing them this card in this instant, and you'll sell more of these. That's it. Why would anything else? You're trying to explain how water filtration works to a bunch of plumbers. I can't think of a bigger waste of time. They already know that. They live it and breathe it every single day. So why are we wasting our time with that? The other 40 minutes of that meeting should be with the plumber supply manager figuring out an incentive program for him. So if he pushes more water filtration systems, he gets stuff or money or kickbacks or whatever. That's the way an audience's mind works. And go to the end result.
Everyone wins when you arrive at that simplicity, right?
Exactly. Go to that person with the broken pipes that calls a plumber. They have no interest in what's wrong. They just want it fixed. A water system in your house, you're not even allowed to work on yourself because it could infect other people because it's a system of water. I just want it fixed. I have water pouring into the basement. Come and fix it. I don't care why it happened.
Yeah.
So why would you tell the people who already know the details of the solution what the solution is? Say, this is what you need. Here's the card. Let me know. Check it out. Let me know if you want me to come back and put it in. That should be the exchange with the audience. But these people aren't thinking about that person. They're thinking about, we have to tell them everything we know. And marketing looks like that. To use sort of military parlance, you've heard the shotgun approach, where you just sort of, it blasts out. I've got to be on Instagram. I got to have a website. I got to be doing this, email, blah, blah, all of these things. When in reality, you should only be doing up to 3. And it should be a surgical drone strike of a message to the right audience. It should not be, let's see how many people we can catch, no matter what their need state is or who they are. So if you could be that targeted with your message and it attaches to your audience when they're looking for your service, they're going to choose you. They're going to grab, at least they're going to read about what you do, how you work, who you've helped. And that's the goal of any exchange.
Yeah, we've all my career around the world of advertising, we always started off with the same thing. If somebody come in and said, you know, we want an advertising campaign across the Middle East, and it's going to be to sell milk for a dairy company that was competing with, you know, some big players, and they've got $1 million to spend. Our thing would always be, who's doing your marketing? Because if you want to waste that million, I can tell you, start advertising. But until marketing tells us who the audience is and what the message is we have to say to them, don't be spending your money on anything. Just going
not a dime of it.
Absolutely.
Not a dime of it.
And my experience all around, you know, good people like you, Mike, is you can save tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions. I mean, if you get up right up to the large scale international companies, you can save millions if you just pause for a moment, stand back and say, is the message right? Have I identified the audience I'm going to advertise to? And then what is the message I have to deliver to that audience? Not advertise to try and get an audience or to try and sell a product. It's mindless. It's mindless.
Yeah. I mean, trying to attract an audience to something they don't want or need is impossible. You're pushing water uphill. And I'll give you just a very quick example. A security guard that I worked with at Hasbro reached out to me maybe a year ago, not even a year ago. He had taken up furniture restoration. Now, nobody's in the building, so I'm sure he's, you know, not working as much. He took up furniture restoration. He's very, very good at it. He's got chops. He sent me a side-by-side before and after photo. I said, wow, it's amazing. He said, yeah. And he said, so I've got an Instagram page and I'm going to make a website and I'm doing this and this. I said, whoa, Tim, his name's Tim. Tim, slow down, slow down. Have you tried putting any out in front of your house with a sign that says restored furniture and just tried to sell it? How many of you sold? Well, none. So you're ready to build a website and have an Instagram presence for something that you haven't done yet. Put it out front, sell some things, show people what it looked like put a picture on the item of what it looked like and what it looks like now, or just what it looked like. Give me a call or text me if you want to buy one. Start small, make your world smaller, especially if you're a small business. You can't keep up with advertising and web and digital and so blah, 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 all of this stuff. You feel like you're supposed to because you're in business. But the reality is, if you're a small business, you need laser focus on what you're doing and who you're talking to. And if you try to do a bunch of things instead of no more than 3, we're only programmed to remember 3 things at a time as human beings. We don't go beyond that. Think about trying to write down a phone number you hear. Okay, you write down the first number and then you have to go and check the last, you know, you get 3 in, you're like, what was that? Was that a 6 or a 9? And go back and check. We only remember 3 things. If we're trying to do more than 3 things, something else is going to suffer. So my advice to small businesses when they're thinking about these kind of marketing things they have to do, make your world smaller. Think about the things that you could have direct impact on in the next month, not where you want to be a year from now, because you're going to waste your money. You're going to spend money trying to put out a message that you don't even know if it's going to resonate yet because you haven't looked small and talked directly to your consumer first. That's the biggest danger. I talked to somebody in the UK yesterday who's an aspiring comic artist. And during the day, he's a TA, a teacher's assistant, but he is a good artist. He said, I want to work for Marvel someday. I said, great. Let me introduce you to some people who don't work anywhere near Marvel, but have been in this business for 20 years. And you'll see that they have stepping stones that they get to where they want to go. Because Marvel isn't looking for aspiring comic artists. They're looking for people with names and accomplishments. You got to build that before you get there. So how do you think about where you can put this work, how you position it? He's on Instagram. I said, go on LinkedIn. If you want to get hired for your work, you don't go on Instagram. You go to where people are hiring for your type of work. People are hiring freelance artists all the time. So start there. Start where you know your audience is going to be, not on where you want to be 10 years from now.
Yeah, and that is in a way, it's a kind of a reflection of how things have changed somewhat. So certainly in the last 15, 20 years, where people have an expectation, you know, in the world of publishing, for instance, everyone who writes a book, is only thinking bestseller, is only thinking the movie's going to come out. And I'm
going to make hundreds off of this.
Honestly, I am going to be so rich, I might be able to buy a meal out of this.
Yeah.
And of course, the reality is what they've heard is a headline. What they've heard is a bit like the lottery winner. You know, we buy lottery tickets because they keep showing us the lottery winner that's driving around in the Maserati and they've got the swimming pool and having a nice life.
But you mean they give you hope?
It's still 44 million to 1 that you can win, and right. Pretty much business is long odds but hard work. It is doing that exactly what you said, Mike. It's putting in the ground. Why should I trust you to give you a job if you haven't earned the right yet? So how are you going to earn the right, to get in front of me? But the problem is we see that 1 in 10,000, 1 in 100,000 person who just, it falls into place for them, and that's the one everyone else holds up. This one, I talk to lots of young kids, and I say the same thing to them. It's if you're willing to put in the effort, if you're willing to show how willing you are to put in that effort, you're more likely to get a little bit further faster. But don't be waiting. Don't be thinking that I'm going to get the Bentley Continental and the nice office in the corner suite in Manhattan. Just yet, you might have to be prepared to sweep the floor and make the tea first before you get there.
Right. I'm sure the founder of Maserati at some point was sweeping floors in a garage.
Yeah.
That's how it goes. I'm actually a case in point of all of this, Rick. I had to hire someone to write what I do because I couldn't get it out. If you saw my website in September, it was like I was having a manic episode. I could not talk about myself. So I hired a brilliant woman, 26 years old, in the Washington, D.C. area. She interviewed me for 90 minutes. She interviewed a couple of clients, and she came back with what I say. I couldn't even do it for myself. And when I started out this business, it was, I'm going to drop off stuff. I'm going to email people. I'm going to be on LinkedIn. I'm going to do all of these things. And I went so far as to almost start my own podcast or my own broadcast. I was going to spend money on a microphone and camera and all this stuff. And I finally said, wait a second, what the hell am I doing? I tell people not to do this for a living, and here I am. I was taking that scattershot approach. And what's needed now, I sell one thing, free 30-minute phone calls, because it's easier to say to people. You don't have to buy anything to talk to me. I also say, I'll talk until we're both ready to pass out. If I have to put pen to paper, that's when I charge. Like, I want to help people, but I do LinkedIn religiously. That's where I live most of my day. Things like this, networking, talking, meeting new people and talking with them, just through connections has been amazing. And we met through Simon Town, who I had never met before, but he commented on one. So it's just this wonderful world of how things connect. So one-to-one networking or group networking is another objective of mine. And the third one is I am a chronic guest on other people's programs, because if I try to do it, I'll spin my wheels producing it, filming it, I'll stress myself out, and I won't focus on the 3 things that I know I'm good at. So that's the lesson learned for me. I lived it, where I spent a good 7 months just doing everything. And finally I said, what am I doing? I got to do the things that I know how to do, that show who I am and what I can do, and that allow people to engage with me on their terms and in their way. So for me, it was stop trying to do everything and focus on 3 things that you know you can do consistently and keep up with to market your business. Then you start to see success because you build that consistency. Then you can branch out after you've established. But for me, it was trying to jump from 0 to 100, and I needed to go 10, 20, 30, 40. It's a learning curve. And the best thing I could say is listen to people who have the experience, because experience is everything. Learning in school is academic, but doing it, you know what's going on. So the way I see it, I have 25 years of experience that I can share with people about the challenges that they're seeing today. And the other thing that I focused on, Rick, is focusing on trends and not research. And what I mean by that is things move so fast that what somebody said 5 months ago about something doesn't matter anymore. It's what's to come. So trend hunting, paying attention to what people are gravitating towards. Who is that new Gary Vayner or Simon Sinek on LinkedIn, and how do you take from that kind of experience to apply to yourself? So it's paying attention to people who have been there and done it, but not trying to emulate them, trying to figure out best practices that work for you and your message.
Yeah, because and you sometimes see that or something like that when you get somebody, you're talking to somebody and you know that they've had a meeting with somebody who's given them some words or given them some, some of their wisdom or the benefit of their wisdom, and they don't own them yet. They don't own that wisdom yet. So all they're doing is repeating what the other person said, and often they repeat it badly, right? So not only do they not own it, they've just destroyed it.
Compared to the fashion industry, we emulate celebrities who are wearing whatever, but the truth is that trend started with a bunch of the latest term was hipsters, but these trendsetters, urban areas that are kind of, Dumbo is down under Manhattan Bridge overpass, is this really cool artist enclave in Manhattan. It was 5 years ago. Now it's a commercial empire for trendy stuff, but it starts there, then musicians, then athletes, then us. And all they're doing is emulating the person before it. Yeah. And the translation comes out ridiculous if I'm dressing like, Cristiano Ronaldo. Like, oh yeah, look how cool I look. No, you don't. You don't look anything like Cristiano Ronaldo. The same thing happens because you see the success and figure that, but only about 5% of what they're doing would apply to you anyway. It's not a one-to-one, right? And focusing on the wrong things is a huge problem. If you're focused on the wrong problem, you've got an issue. So I'm going to give you an example. My father was in advertising for 30 years, and then he became a professor at Boston University teaching advertising. And he ran a program called Ad Lab, which was the kids ran their own agency. They went out and got clients, and he oversaw it. But one of the most fascinating things that he told me, he worked on McDonald's with the owner operators of a huge swath of the east of the US. And he'd go in and meet with all the owner operators as the head of their agency client service. The first thing he would do with all of them, they'd say, we need this, we need this, we need this. He says, okay, come in the bathroom with me. And they'd go in the bathroom. And if it looked bad, he'd say, this is where you start. You don't need anything else until a customer comes in here and isn't disgusted by the bathroom. And I'll tell you why. How many instances does somebody go into McDonald's to use the bathroom and then order food? What do you think their impression is going to be of your operation if they go into the bathroom and it looks like this? And he said, you got to go back to where it starts. You can't be thinking about how many burgers you're going to sell, how many shakes you're going to make, how much packaging you need to order, if you're not thinking about the person ordering the food. And their first impression, if you went into somebody's house to use the bathroom and then have food with them, and you saw their bathroom was disgusting, would you want to sit down there? No. So it's making your world smaller. It's controlling what you can and focusing on those areas to make sure that your audience experiences it the way you want it to.
I think, Mike, before we lose broadband, because I feel a little.
No problem. I tend to talk a lot, Rick. My apologies.
No, honestly, I said to you last time, Mike, I could listen to you all day long and I soak it up. It's pearls of wisdom. And what I would say to anybody who's watching this now is they've got to look up Verret and Associates, got to look up that website, because they need your mailing address. Because what I would suggest to them is, if it's okay with you, they keep all the first million they make from your wisdom, but they send you 10% of the second million. How's that?
All I ask is $2 per million. That's it. $2
per million. I think we can make it a little bit more than that for that fantastic wisdom there. Mike, it's been an absolute joy speaking with you. I love you, fella.
Thank you so much for having me. I got to tell you, this means the world to me, being able to talk about what I do, Rick, and I appreciate you letting me have some airspace to do it. It's fun to, like I said, it's great to meet new people, but it's even more fun to talk about ideas like this and what we see as professionals in the space that we feel we can add value to. I think it's a great way for us to, talk about what we do in a cool forum. Beautiful. So thank you so much.
Absolutely beautiful. Mike, I'll see you soon. Good to see you, fella. Take care.
Absolutely. Take care.